Now, it's been over 40 hours since government announced the suspension of the contract between the Government of Ghana and Power Distribution Services, PDS. And Ghanaians are anxious of the outcome of this probe. So let's go live now to the Ministry of Information, where the Minister of Finance, Minister of Information, is addressing the media. Right, we have to work on the audio for that so you can hear what the Information Minister is saying. But while we're fixing that, we can very quickly catch up on what the minority said when they held a press conference on this same issue earlier today. Right, great news. I think we've got the audio fixed at the live press conference at the Information Ministry. Kojo Nkrumah is addressing the media now.
As part of their engagement. Number 3, final efforts to ensure smooth transition between ECG and PDS officials are proceeding without incident as at this stage. Number 4, government reiterates that this breach was discovered by the due diligence of the Ghanaian authorities through ECG and with the support of state agencies. And here specifically, I want to share with you a few details. For the avoidance of doubt, the provision of the payment guarantee has always been a condition precedent and was never made or changed into a condition subsequent, as is being speculated by some persons. Secondly, the initial due diligence led by the transaction advisors did not detect anything wrong with the payment guarantees. Third thing is that it took a second level of checks, this time led by the Ghana side, that initially yielded the first responses from our court that was confirming the guarantee. Next is that it took a third level of checks by the Ghana side, which then detected that there were anomalies within our court, thereby triggering the fourth level of checks. And it is this fourth level of checks which involved sending an initial team from the Ghana mission in Qatar to engage with our court officials for further verification. This fourth level further proved the anomalies and even suggested some untoward action, which is now the subject of the full-scale inquiry. The government will update all stakeholders on the outcome of the inquiry and proceed in accordance with law and the terms of the agreement as it works towards a final resolution of this matter. I want to, at this stage, introduce some dignitaries who have joined us for this afternoon's briefing, and then we'll take your questions. They may join us to help us with some of the answers subsequently. Mr. Solomon Ajete is Director, Generation and Transmission at the Ministry of Energy. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. And the Honourable Minister responsible for Energy, John Peter Amewu, is also here with us. He'll help us with some further clarification if need be. So I'll quickly translate this into Twi, and then we'll take our questions as we do always. And anyway, yasem ayaba kope na yede toa press statement aban issue through Ministry of Information on the 30th of July. Afa ECG ni PDS and she say na ye no baby ababedu ehwemu a aban ka say e wo sesa abru ye no sa ehwemu na fi ase ebedi bosome ansa na sa ehwemu no ye wie wonoma eye sa ehwemu no insurance investigation experts wo penifoni bi fi Energy Ministry, Finance Ministry, ECG, Enimida omo na e boama ya sa ehwemu no omo no mbekire ade potin a akoboni e wo sa krata na efre no guarantee no eho na omo etufo kwan ebetumi afa so akwanim brande ebe hwe nim se omo bedu Doha e wo Qatar as part of nhwemu omo ye no sabri obi bia asem no fa no ho no so no omo ene no eye adwuma aboma a oboa man nhwemu no akonanim eku etoso mienu so e de omani e kire USA America na omo so omo adwuma e de ama omo ne so omo ne America mpanimfo titiru America adwumaku a omo na ehwe saa nhyehyeye we nyina so de from Millennium Challenge Corporation no eni nkita ho no be ne ma mienu enne be kire anase ebeboa ma ye nyina adwen ko benko mu de ayewie ehwehwemu ya ye beye ebio so no saa nkita ho no be kire ehwehwemu yi koso yi senia ye ne wonom ebedi nkita ho ahye information bia beba abonten sabre aye kase information aye woni se ene me twato a ehwe se PDS adwuma na omo ya omo de ma ECG no koso totin a bibia NC enkochema sabre ebio so aban esansi so dua se eye adwuma Ghana fo ne Ghana ban ni makuo te se ECG eye ye bambofo ni bi kan no eno na aboa ma Ghana mpanimfo ehudia na akochema wo sa krata ni mu na poso na mentre ne mabi kakra payment guarantee na ye kan ho asem na se bi mu keka se wonom sesan efi condition precedent or condition subsequent chesa ade na wo se ye ansa na transfer no take effect e de kosi babia afi ye se transfer ni take effect bia na yaye enye no kre at all material times no sa payment guarantee no condition precedent ebio ehwemu omudi kan ye IFC MIDA Millennium Challenge for any mpanifo nyina ye no onum ehu bibia etochema e wo sa krata no America for mpanifo IFC for ne ade ka ho nyina ehwe no obi ehu bibia ekochema wo sa krata no na ehwemu etoso mienu eno Ghana ECG for mpanifo ene Ghana Ministry of Energy and Finance mpanifo as part of their friend continuous due diligence no eno kra ne de dikan omo ye no krata efi se adwuma ko no ba na problem bia so nim ehwemu a etoso miensa eno Ghana for mpanifo no so na esan ye no eho na omo start efi anase hono mfi ase hu sa ase bibi akochema wo sa krata no ho eno na ma omo tu mpanifo efi Ghana mission e wo kata call sa adwuma ko nim esan ko ye further verification further verification no so no omo kire mu se ampa bibia kochema na sa de na kochema na no na wo se ye suspend na ye hwe bibia mu Ghana ban ema omanfo nyina so te se dia ebe koso wo hwehwemu we mu bia no mbema obia aso ate no mde mra ene contract na da ho no ene be ye dwuma sabre ya omo koso aye hwehwemu ene dia ebedi a kire no. So this is a simple brief for you in English and in Twi. If you have questions, please let us give you the microphone and ask them. The Honourable Minister is here, and he will join me in responding to some of those questions after I've read the government statement. Yes, sir. So please introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Clifford Kufu. I write for the Ghanaian Times. Honourable Minister, you have outlined the various steps of conducting the due diligence. I would want to find out what necessitated the levels of due diligence, and couldn't we have done all that before selling the deal with PDS?
What necessitated the levels?
Levels, yeah.
And couldn't it have been done before sealing the deal?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Let's take the next question.
My name is Afamensa from Ghana News Agency. Honorable, as a result of this PDS debacle, Ghana is set to lose $190 million, being the second.
Ghana is set to lose $190 million. Who is saying this?
According to energy experts.
The energy experts say Ghana will lose $190 million.
Yes, $190 million, being the second tranche of the Millennium Challenge Corporation support.
Which expert is this? Sorry.
Yes.
Which expert is this?
Energy experts.
Who is that?
Oh, since this issue came up, there have been a lot of assertions, criticisms from energy experts. So I'm basing my question on that.
Very well.
Because the deadline for signing this or for conducting the transaction has elapsed. So if this thing has happened, there's likelihood that Ghana is going to lose $190 million being support from MCC. Then my second question, would government pursue?
Sorry to interrupt you. So you're asking that is it possible that Ghana will lose a $190?
Yes, $190 million. Yes. Then my second question is, would government pursue any legal action for compensation in the event government
from
Miracle Consortium / PDS?
Okay.
Then my last question. It's a energy think tank. It's calling for a meeting because they were authorized to do all this due diligence. So
interdiction of the leadership of MIDA.
Yes. Because they believe they have failed to do due diligence with this transaction. Thank you.
Okay. There was a third hand up here, so let me take yours and then we'll start responding.
My name is Sanya Brahman from GBC. Well, yesterday, with our engagement with the minister, we were told that the letter of payment guarantee was fraudulent. And we all know in contracts, even if you've signed the contract and later you realize maybe some of the provisions that were made at the time of signing the contract were fraudulent, it means the contract is invalid. So why then wouldn't government terminate this rather than suspending it? And secondly, the minority some few minutes ago were raising some concerns, and they made allegations that the finance ministry was already aware of the structural lapses of PDS, yet turned a blind eye on the whole issue, and it's resulted to this. So these are my questions. Thank you.
Okay, so let's take a final one from you and then we'll respond.
My name is Daniel Adudako from Peace FM. Andrew Ayene, former Deputy Minister of Energy, John Jenapo, on OKFM. Or the to just say PDS, ababa phobia or su edia. Na me person who say no PDS baba phobia or su. I say X-Men. Omana PDS omodia. And I abandoned the contract with the amount. Me person who say no crebe in the womb.
Okay. Tipacho mami fiase infi echo. Uze muni na moye central for. Ejume yawo akwan hodo a yafa so check in yaman kete bi. PDS a registered company or Ghana memo ase. Obeso hu wonu ma PDS yo mo dia first we registered general department PDS a consortium of companies say Miracle and Edikan and some local Ghanaian companies say totaling 51% anyway. Say obi person who say why na ewo PDS echi a nkrata ni na public available. Sa some say babes bi osu na the PDS akwa show no. I'm saying yetumi hu nsem a omo ka say e bia mpanimfo ni bia omo PDS no omo other businesses e bia obi business ni say beauty and barbering center na bia interest PDS e baba fo bi omo osu e dia into we pacho ya na mochiri ama obi ate ase. There's this claim that the finance ministry was aware and did what still passed this transaction. I think that if there's any evidence, proper evidence, the claim is not, if there's any proper evidence, I'm sure you will challenge them to bring it forward so that we can all examine that particular evidence. As at now, is a narrative that is put out there, but I think we should all demand from them to produce the fact or to produce the evidence that the finance ministry was aware and acquiesced to this. The finance ministry will not necessarily say that go ahead with this transaction knowing that the guarantee is fraudulent. Please watch the words they have used, that the finance ministry knows the guarantee is fraudulent and has gone ahead with it. That claim cannot be true. But if there's any evidence that anybody has, which is even interpreting as such, I hope you are following my words carefully, any evidence or anything anybody has, which is interpreting to mean that the finance ministry is aware that it is fraudulent and is proceeding, I think that person should bring it forward and let's have an opportunity to interrogate it. There's a question about a claim that the guarantee is fraudulent, which makes the transaction invalid. Therefore, why not terminate? I think in our briefing this afternoon, in the update, we've been quite clear that there are suspicions that the anomaly may be as a result of fraud. There are those suspicions. But you need to inquire and establish it. And then based on how you have established it, you can then conclude that it is fraudulent and therefore proceed. That inquiry will determine, and as we've said over and over again, the nature, the true nature. Is it an inadvertent error, or is it a fraudulent exercise? So yes, there's suspected fraud, but it is impossible to confirm at this stage until the full-scale inquiry, which is going to take the next about 30 days to complete, has been done. And that is why the administration or the government has only suspended at this stage, secured the assets and the cash, and is proceeding to do the full-scale inquiry to make a determination. And if it is determined that indeed there is fraud there, in accordance with what the laws are, they will take the necessary steps, the laws and the terms of the agreement. ASEP, one of the energy think tanks, is reported to have called for an interdiction of the leadership of MIDA because they argue that they failed us. I think the reason for which ASEP is making that call, and let me just explain our understanding of why they are making that call. I want to be very categorical, so please do well to quote us appropriately. Our understanding of why ASEP is making that call is hinged on the argument that ASEP and some of the other watchers in the industry have made, that the due diligence and the entity responsible for selecting the concessionaire at all material times has been MIDA with the support of the IFC and their consultants. I think they mentioned one law firm, Hutton and Williams and something. And that this is therefore within their domain to have done the initial due diligence. And ASEP argues that they are the ones who have failed, thereby causing all of this. That's our understanding of why they are making that argument. But I think it will be important to complete this inquiry, to make a full determination. We can't run away from that. To make a full determination, it will be important to continue to work with the Millennium Challenge Corporation, keep them in the loop on all that is going on and all that we are discovering, so that the next steps will be steps that we have all satisfied ourselves that these are the facts and therefore these are the next lines of action. There's a question about whether or not compensation will be demanded from PDS. I come back to the same answer. It is important to complete the inquiry and make a determination on the nature of the breach, and then you can, proceed to make the necessary consequential decisions. Will Ghana lose the 190 million outstanding from the compact? Our expectation as we engage with the MCC is that we can work to achieve the spirit of the compact, which is private sector participation in the distribution sector of our energy regime in this country. If the investigation or the inquiry suggests, therefore, that it can be rectified, well, we go ahead and we pick the money. It cannot be rectified, maybe a new one is required, you do that. It cannot be rectified, a new concessionaire is required, you do that. So it's all at large at this stage. But our expectation is that working with both the MCC and the team doing the inquiry, we can come to a point where we still go ahead with the program of private sector participation and improvement in the ECG operations without having to lose this amount of money. And then the very first question is, what is it that occasioned the checks and checks? Well, so if you look at the nature of the agreement, there are the conditions precedent, there are the conditions subsequent. But throughout the entire agreement, you expect that the Ghana side and indeed all the parties around the table will continue to keep an eye on the various developments. In fact, if you look at the dates, the dates on which the payment guarantee was submitted, I think it was, from what we are told, the 26th of February. And then the transfer of assets happened on the 27th of February. And then ECG was seized with the power to start its continuous due diligence from the 28th. And the very first set of letters were triggered from the 28th. It is as part of this inquiry, and I mentioned to you that the very first one that they wrote actually came back with a reply that confirmed the guarantee. And then they went further to do the various levels of due diligence that they have to do, and then began discovering some issues which they brought to the attention of the other parties in this transaction. And that's the information we have for you on that one. Let's go for a second set of questions. Melvin, who else? A few other hands? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, Melvin, start for us.
Okay, I have 2 questions actually. One of the minority members, Oku's Eto Abla, the government, by the same government, by the president, and so it won't be surprising that even this one could be cleared as well. So he called for the setting up of an independent committee to probe this issue. Don't you think there is a need for an independent committee to probe this matter instead of government setting up its own committee? And then 2, you said the finance ministry may not have necessarily known that the deal was fraudulent and then gave the go-ahead to pay. If it turns out to be that the finance ministry, if it turns out to be that the deal was fraudulent, can we say the finance ministry was misled or deceived without knowing?
Yes, I'll take a second question.
Yeah, my name is Lawrence, CTFM. So the announcement of the suspension came from the Information Ministry, and then yesterday, PDS also issued a statement. Beyond that, have you engaged PDS directly? And what has been their response to you based on all that have been put in the media?
Take 2 more. 1 here. Okay, so we'll make it 3. 1, 2, 3, and then we'll respond.
Okay. Kingdom FM. Now, honorable, beginning, 4 steps. I should say, first one, no, meet any other bodies. This PDS was but subsequent ones, you know, meet any other groups. Like I buy any PDS in Mushimu. And there also me, honorable KTM, and so that to be a say. A PDS follow. There's no way say or member back about take you over ECG. TBC Pusa say only ever I been say young Shimu no wa pre no ho and I say likely say PDS e besan continue with Ejumedi Omudina na.
Good afternoon. Yeah. My name is Blessed. I work with Class FM. Yeah. My question goes to the Honorable Energy Minister. We know that before the PDS agreement was finalized, there was a transition from the Honorable Boache Jako and then to the Honorable John Peter Amo. We know that the Honorable John Peter Amo is a technical person when it comes to of a PDS handover. Having read and received briefings from experts within the Energy Ministry, did that technical side of him not trigger any sense of suspicion to possibly avoid what is happening today? My next question has got to do with...
So let me see if I understand you. Did he have any suspicions upon reading his handing over notes that there was something wrong in the transaction?
Exactly. Okay. Knowing that he's a technical person. My next question has got to do with an announcement.
Yeah, go ahead. What's wrong with the microphone?
Energy Commission.
Yeah.
They have just announced that they are restoring the full responsibilities of... My next question goes to the Minister again. The Energy Commission has just announced that the Electricity Company of Ghana would have to resume its full duties as the sole distributor of power across the country. Looking at the books of the Electricity Company of Ghana, we know that it was in a very bad state, and that's how come government agreed that we do a takeover.
Really? The books?
I mean...
Careful of that claim. Careful of that claim. You ask a question, okay. Don't make some claims.
Okay. Issues of debt and all of that. I mean, ECG is not in the best of shapes. We do know that. We know that. And so now that we are resuming or giving back that full responsibility to ECG, what would be the cost to the average Ghanaian citizen? Are we likely to be paying more in the coming days while investigations go on?
So is the price of electricity, or can the price of electricity go up as a result of the revert to ECG? That's your question.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. This morning I was listening to Dr. Mantiao, chairman of PIAC, and he made certain submissions and he raised some issues. He said when the agreement was going to start between Ghana government and PDS, they made it clear to the government that, one, the people didn't have the experience, the competency, and the knowledge to handle that agreement. And so civil society organizations raised issues, some experts raised issues, and even the workers at ECG raised issues. But still, the government went ahead to sign the agreement. Was it that because the government didn't want to understand or didn't want to do what the people wanted them to do, or because they felt that they had the better of terms in terms of the agreement? That's my first question.
I can't hear your question well. Was it that the government
didn't want to listen to the people?
Didn't want to listen to the people.
Yeah. And went ahead to sign the agreement. Second question.
No, sorry. Please help me. Was it that the government didn't want to listen to the people? Or what?
To the concerns raised by the people.
Or, I thought you mentioned two things.
I just wanted to sign the agreement for signing's sake. My second question, because he said we had competence to guide this, give us a guide, but we just ignored all those things. My second question, it was in agreement, I think it's in there that, PDS was supposed to make some financial consideration on financial guarantee. The man said in particular that they have paid nothing, even a farthing, towards their side of agreement, so that now whatever they earn here, they take it free of charge without paying for it. I want to know if that is true.
Okay. So I'll take the last one and then we will...
Thank you very much. My name is Alex Boy. I'm with the New Crusading Guide. Yeah, yesterday I had a chance of speaking with one energy expert, Kofi Anochi, saying that there is no need for any investigation simply because we should direct all blames to His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo. Do you think Ghanaians should believe his idea?
This is an energy expert called...
Energy expert, Kofi Anochi.
Okay, and
saying that there's no need of any investigation into the whole matter, but rather we should direct all blames to His Excellency. Because he is the leader of the country.
Blame Akufo-Addo because he's the leader. Okay, let me take some of these questions. Minister, I'll beg of you to help me out with some of those questions. There are about two questions that I would refer to you directly. So starting from the very first set of questions. Will there be a need for an independent committee? I think the first thing we all must not lose sight of is the fact that nobody came from the outside to tell us that there's something wrong with the payment guarantees. It is the government agency working on the continuous due diligence, and by extension the government, that inquired and found out this after about 3 different levels of checks and announced to the people that we have detected an anomaly, we are proceeding to suspend, we'll have a full-scale inquiry, and we'll keep you apprised of the next line of action. That is the highest level of transparency you can find in dealing with any matter like this. That same government says that we are doing this full inquiry. Earlier in the week, we said by the end of this week, we'll know how long it will take. And now we're able to say that it will take about 30 days to finish this, and we'll keep everybody apprised. When this 30-day inquiry is done, when these engagements with the Millennium Challenge Corporation are also done, by the time we hit that 30-day landmark, we will have a lot more information which we would have gathered. If by then there are still some outstanding questions, there's even a parliamentary committee on mines and energy that has within its power the ability to call and request to be fully briefed on all the work that has already been done even before we told the public about it. And we are of the view that we are in a good position to go through these inquiries. Nobody forced anybody proactively. Government has come out to make this announcement, suspend it, go for a fuller inquiry, and will update the nation on whatever is found in that space. And I think we can have confidence in our administration for what is ongoing. And I tie that with the issues of was somebody misled or not. Nobody has claimed being misled by anybody at this point in time. We have stated the facts of what has happened throughout up until this stage, even the various levels of checks. What we have said is that if somebody has any basis to suggest that somebody was aware and acquiesced to an untoward act being perpetrated on the country, it's not just the mere mouthing of it. You bring the evidence that you have to that effect, and we all have an opportunity to interrogate it. If it is what you claim it is, if the interpretation you are putting on whatever it may be is exactly what it is. It's not just that you merely mouth it and then we all believe it and start following you down that line. There's a question about whether PDS, I think I must have lost your question. PDS something engagement. There was a question on PDS engagement. Yeah. Oh yes. There have been a series of meetings even with the leadership of PDS. And they also, I'm sure as you read their statement, mention that they look at the national interest, they look at the terms of the agreement, and without using the exact words, our understanding and what is going on so far suggests that they are cooperating with the inquiry that is ongoing. There's a trick question about the media participation in the subsequent due diligence that is ongoing. So let me please explain. The very first level, prima facie, when these documents were tendered in, the question was intrigued. If it's Sankrata we ebaye media for no consultant for ni ade nyina hwemu no obi anhu bibia e kochema e wo ho nti bo se board na approve ye e ma ye ko so ye dia e wo se ye na Ghana dwumaku edi Ghana aban nim kan wo saa transaction we mu ECG ono so asudie dom so say ombe the friend continuous due diligence almost start am say be 28th nti omo de omo ye no ena akwako yisa nsem nyina ba momien kai se sika no eye America fo sika ena omo de ma yen se yen fanye bibi ena omo mpanimfo edi anim ehwe abo ehu adwumaku a yen fa adwuma no ma onye ti omo hwehwe omo krata mu this years say no mususu say ye de fa eyeye afi Ghana mpanimfo fi ase hwehwe mu from the 28th no eno na ye levels of checks na kwako fa sansem bo nyina ba ama yesu aba abonten de aba beto edwa no em say ne ubetia ebi mu make argument say ebia America fo no buafu sa de ntina yaka na bonten sa abrewe anka ni say enka yeka me who some of the news reports to that effect and no Nkrumah clue say e Ghana side na ye adwuma no na ya discover asem we say ene ye dia ba bonten say no nti ye suspend ni abo Ghana japade ne Ghana sika e ho ban whilst yentia emrana na agreement no into subsequent ones na ye man kofa asem we buy there eno ye Ghana for no na ye side adwuma ye bo ma ba so ye de bia no bi fi ama no ne ansa na wa ye bibi ama ye Ghana for no na etumi hu we say ya afasa asem we nyina ba ye hwem now so ye full scale inquiry na maka say ye ne millennium challenge for aiding Nkrumah media for so ya to nsa from so mon kan ni nyina full scale inquiry no emfenko ye nim. There's a question about the Honorable KT Amon says that PDS should not come back. Whether or not I think that his opinion is prejudicial. But me kasama by or no watch the opinion, your democracy, mo do what you chamemu, watch any day. And ya bind the aye and no who common ye dino. A bind the journey say was here to a ye with the behuno and a better the abe a watchery. In Koma, the be moved in the city, touch man was here correcting, I be correcting, but Sabri, a honor doing tre as a member of parliament and watcher. I'll reserve two questions for the energy minister. Minister, there's a question about at the time you received your handing over notes, did you have any basis to suspect that there could be something wrong? And then another question about whether the price of electricity can go up because of this referred to ECG.
Yeah, thank you so much. As at the time I received the handing over note, there was no indication that an incident of fraud was detected. There was nothing like that. What I want you also to understand that the principle of due diligence has always been an ongoing process. You know, it's not an event. And so it is through the work of the ECG, their continuous attempt to find out each day and then as the process continues. Even during the operation stage and after the handing over processes, they still continue the due diligence process. So please, at the time I received my handing over notes, I think the person they wanted to know when I moved from Ministry of Lands to Energy. There was nothing like that. The second point as to what happens to the price of electricity, is that right? No, not at all. We assure Ghanaians of stable supply of power, uninterrupted, and price of power as it is will still remain. So there's not going to be any interruption in terms of the power consumers. Thank you, please.
And then there are three final ones that I'll just respond to as we wrap up our brief this afternoon. I think Dr. Steve Mantiao is reported to have said that there were a lot of red flags. Is it that the administration didn't want to listen or just wanted to sign for signing's sake? I think as has been explained over and over again, at every material moment, what was known and made available did not show anything wrong. What the administration has discovered to be problematic is what it has put out. There's also a claim that PDS hasn't invested anything or hasn't made any money available. Let us let the inquiry go on. By the time they are done, if there's a need to even audit the 5-month work of PDS, I'm sure we will all have an opportunity to do that. It's still early days yet. And then my favorite question at the end, should we blame Akufo-Addo for everything because he's the leader? No, we can't blame Akufo-Addo because he's the leader, and therefore everything that goes wrong in this country is his fault. Indeed, if credit is due on this matter, credit is due to the Ghana side that did the due diligence, the continuous due diligence, and discovered something to be amiss, followed through about 3 different times, even including sending an initial team to Qatar to get the kind of answers that we have, which are the ones that have triggered this suspension. And if, therefore, by extension, you are looking for ultimate responsibility to praise, I would rather say that then praise is due and not blame as well. We'll take the final set and then we'll wrap up if there are any. You've had a bite already, so let me take one from the gentleman at the back. Yes, sir? Any others? 1, 2, then I'll give you the last one, 3. So 3 and we'll wrap up. Yes, sir?
Thank you very much. My name is Patrick from Atinka TV. In the interim, the ECG has been asked to take over. I want to know if government has provided some kind of fund for ECG. Probably there may be a few challenges within. If government has provided any fund for them to start operation. Thank you.
Probably a few challenges, right? Okay.
Okay, my name is Eric. I work with Star FM. So, Honorable, you mentioned a team that's expected in Doha, Qatar, to begin investigations. We want to know
to continue with the investigations.
To continue with investigations, right. We want to know the membership of that team, the number that is expected to be at Doha, and then the numbers are also expected in the U.S. to continue with deliberations with the Millennium Development Authority, if I can call them that. And then we want to find out, within the 4 months PDS took over, in the operations, were there any profits that they accrued during their operations? We also want to find out if they made any profits in their dealings in these last 4 months, and what has happened to that as well. And then finally, there's been 2 instances, Energy Ministry. Initially, there was an Ameri deal that brought about an entire brouhaha. A minister stepped aside and all of that. And now we have this where all of this has happened again. There's a lot of questions that will be asked about the sort of negotiations, the sort of due diligence and all of that that goes into some of these contracts that are signed, because the first one happened, and now we have a second one on our hand. Guaranteed government saw it and has decided to rectify the anomaly. But isn't there a cause for concern with this happening for the second time, if I can say that?
Yes.
Thank you. So my name is Shine Akwa. I'm with Multimedia. Mr. John Jinapo has been saying that some members of the minority are trying to take advantage of this whole development and to acquire shares in ECG. Can we be rest assured that there will be nothing of that sort?
ECG is not for sale, so nobody can acquire shares in ECG.
Yes, the majority actually.
ECG is not for sale, so nobody can acquire shares in ECG.
So we should debunk that statement from him.
ECG is not for sale. Therefore, it is not even possible that anybody will acquire shares in ECG. You understand me?
So does it mean he does not know what he's saying? Because you say ECG is not, but this is a former deputy minister of energy, and he's making these accusations.
The fact that he's a former deputy minister of energy does not mean that when he says that some people want to take shares in ECG, it is even possible. You as a journalist do a first baseline check. Is ECG for sale? No, ECG is not for sale. Can anybody therefore proceed to acquire shares in ECG? No, not possible. Are you getting my point, my brother?
So I can now say that the former deputy minister does not know what he's saying.
Well, I have put out the facts as I can put them. Okay. If you want to do a narrative on that fact, please be sure that your narrative is correct. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. I'll take the final question from you. Please.
My name is Maxwell. I write for the Chronicle newspaper. Earlier today, I spoke with one Mr. Elik Blem, who is with the independent power producers, and he was saying that they have not received any formal document coming from government of Ghana or any ministry that this contract has been, what do you call it, suspended or terminated or anything like that. And initially, we also heard reports that some monies...
I'm sorry, hold on. The IPP say they have not, or this gentleman from an IPP says that he has not received...
Yes, they said that there's not been any formal communication from any ministry or the government to them.
Okay.
And so I want to find out with that. And aside that, initially we also heard about some of their monies not being paid by PDS. Is it going to affect production of their services? With these IPPs, some monies that PDS was supposed to pay to them, it wasn't paid. Is it going to affect production of their services?
Okay. Yes, I'll take the final one.
Son of Draman again from GBC. Prior to this whole agreement, we were told PDS will invest about 580 million into the operations of the state park.
In the first 5 years?
In the first 5 years. So we want to know, in this nearly 6 months, how much have they invested so far? And secondly, there is a school of thought that are we losing it as a state, that our own assets, we can't manage it to the extent that we need people like PDS or agencies like PDS to come in. Are we going in for the sake of the money they are coming with? Some of the arguments are we have spent nearly 12 billion Ghana cedis to strengthen the banking sector. Looking at that quantum of money and what we are looking for in the this whole agreement, we could have used our own money to invest and improve the operations of ECG without even inviting any partner outside or what. What's your response on that?
Thank you. So let me start from the very top. The composition of the teams that are going, I think I've given the breakdown of the teams already and the various agencies that they are coming from, so I won't go back to that one. The question about whether profits have been made so far by PDS, I want to tie it in with whether or not PDS has made any investment so far. As I've mentioned, let's have this first part of this inquiry done. If there's a reason as a result to audit the first 4 or 5 months of PDS's work and apprise the nation of what may have transpired there, I'm sure we can do that as well. There's a question about whether or not we should be concerned that the Energy Ministry comes in the news quite a bit often, and it appears that we are not all at ad idem on the things that have happened there. I think that if there's anything to be happy about or to be proud about, it is the fact that the Energy Ministry and its agency, the ECG, in this particular transaction have caught the bug early enough and are proceeding to do a further inquiry on it. That cannot be a bad thing. That cannot be a bad thing. That is actually a good thing, that the ministry, through its agency, ECG, has managed to, what everybody else missed, has managed to discover, do various levels of investigations into it, and therefore trigger the suspension. That cannot, by any stretch of imagination, be a bad thing. It is a good thing, and we must encourage them to complete this inquiry and let us know the consequential actions that need to happen. There's a question about debts owed the IPPs and whether or not they will be honored. I think the obligations of the Republic to the IPPs will be honored, regardless of who the particular person who is in charge may be. The obligations of the Republic to the IPPs will be honored as well. Are we losing it that we cannot manage our power sector? We can manage our power sector. We have opted for what we call private sector participation to help boost the efficiency and the technical workings of ECG. That is the nature of that's why it's called a concession agreement. It's not a sale, it's a concession option for the private sector participation. And it is our hope that we can continue the private sector participation by the time we are done with the proper inquiry into this matter as we wrap up. I want to thank you for attending upon our invitation and for your questions. Minister, I don't know if you have... Okay, Minister. As I've mentioned, I've given the breakdown of the various sources or organizations that are contributing membership to the team. So I'll give a full outline later. So I'm sure we can share with those who were not in at the time. Colleagues, I want to thank you for your time. I'm sure on Sunday we'll meet for another brief. Thank you very much. Minister.
So he has told you, you don't go, when you are dancing, go to organize something. No, I mean, what did he tell you? He said you should sign a form. What did he tell you? Yes, what did he tell you? Why?
Right, that was the Information Minister briefing the media on action taken so far by government in seeking to resolve the PDS situation, where government suspects that fraud was perpetrated on the people of Ghana by PDS in their bid to become concessionaires in the power distribution sector.